Welcome, everybody, to Who's Your Band? I am Jeffrey Paul. We are joined today by Sean Morton, my co-host. How are you, Sean?
I'm wonderful. My favorite guest is going to be on this episode today.
Yeah, I think my least favorite guest ever is going to be on this episode today, too, because we're bringing in our producer, Adam Holtz, into the show, because this is our 100th episode.
And this show does not happen without Adam, because let me explain something to you. Me and Jeff can talk and talk and talk. We don't want to do the other stuff. We don't want to do the editing. We don't want to do all the uploading. We don't want to do any of that shit. We want to just talk and hang up and go, Adam, now do your fucking job. And that's what it comes down to.
I don't want to kiss his ass too much, but he does a great job.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
I couldn't be happier. But not only like as, our producer, but like, he's our friend.
Oh, absolutely. I like him a lot better than you. I'll tell you that right now.
You like everybody better than me.
That's pretty much true. I mean, if I can go back with like the Doc Brown DeLorean and meet like Hitler or Mussolini or like Genghis Khan, I might like them more than you.
That's pretty rough, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why Adam.
And he's the talker too.
That's it, right there. That sums up our relationship. Yeah, we Sean and I talked for 90 minutes. Adam's like, "Yeah, you're right," and that's it.
Right.
To the shadows. So
100 episodes is a big number.
It's a milestone
because everybody and their mother starts a podcast, and everybody comes off strong, and they really get out of the freaking gates. They start going, and then what happens? 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes, you never hear from them again. So it's kind of like when you hit that, when they say like, if you do 10,000 hours of something, you become a master at it.
Right.
We have 10 more years of this before we're actually good at this podcast is what it comes down to.
Okay.
But
I'll be alive.
You definitely won't be alive. My new co-host will be alive. That's another story in itself. But no, but seriously, when it comes to podcasts, like you look at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's in like the 1800s or 2000s or whatever number he is. 100 is a huge number because it means that, number one, you've committed long enough to do it. Number two, it means you've actually been able to book 100 fucking guests, which we've only had maybe a handful of episodes where it's only just me and you.
That's true.
Only half. And we have had some great guests. We have had some doozies. And we have, I know, but we have had some doozies as well.
Because I want to get into the guests, but I want to talk about this that we said we were going to be doing. And especially for you, because you have had the summer of concerts. And
wow.
So why don't you start? We're going to talk a little bit about concerts that we've seen since the last episode. And how many have you seen since our last episode?
I think 3. Well, I know I saw New Kids on the Block, but then I saw 2 after that.
Okay, after New Kids on the Block, we talked about that on the last one. Right. Okay, we talked about
Rob. It was Rob Zombie, Mudvayne, Static X, and Power Man 5000. So that was.
Tell us about that show.
So that was a week ago Sunday. So if, we're ahead of the game here. So just figure it was July, I think 31st. It was 98 degrees that day.
You love it when it's hot.
But right? Here's the deal. So it was 98 degrees that day. I'm not a drinker anymore. I like to partake in the legalization of marijuana. I got very high before the show. And this was a show that we wanted to see all 4 bands. Like normally, if it's a shitty opener, we'll say, you know what, fuck it, we're not going to go in. We'll just hang outside. We want to see all 4 bands. And it was relatively cool. We had great seats. We had nobody around us. We had leg room. They had a
Where was the show?
At PNC. At PNC. 98 degrees or 97 degrees at showtime at 6 o'clock. Power Man 5000 was very good. They come on. They're a great band. I don't know if you know who they are, Jeff, but the singer is Rob Zombie's brother.
I guess that's how they got the gig.
Yeah, so they've been around for over 20 years. They're not a new band. They've been around forever. Static X comes out and just blows the.
What time does Static X go on?
About 7-ish, 7:15 maybe. They just annihilate the stage. So I don't know if you know the story about Static X. Their singer died of an overdose a couple years ago, and Wayne Static was very he didn't blend. He's like me. He does not blend in the crowd. He had the long hair that spiked up like 4 feet into the air. Amazing energy. So they have, for a while, it was a secret who the new singer was. It's a guy named Etzel who's in a band called Dope. And Dope was a big new metal band in the 2000s, and they used to tour with Static X. So
You
now,
familiar with Dope, Adam?
No.
They do a couple songs. They have a great cover of "You Spin Me Round" by Dead or Alive.
Oh, sure.
That was their big hit. So Etzel would open the show, Dope, and Etzel would come out in his full regular, face, whatever. Then a middle band, and then he would come back out dressed up with a mask on, with the hair like Wayne Static, and he plays his guitar. Amazing. They're one of the best live bands you're going to see around in a very long time.
How much time did they do?
40 minutes. Then Mudvayne comes out. Now, I don't know if you know the story about Mudvayne. Mudvayne was a very big new metal band in the early 2000s. They kind of broke up, and then they joined up with Vinnie Paul from Pantera and started the band called Hell Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So Hell Yeah is a great metal band. Vinnie Paul dies. Hell Yeah is done. They restart Mudvayne again. Mudvayne was fucking horrible. They were absolutely, because the singer gained about 60 pounds like Vince Neil did, and he couldn't sing anymore. And he was just atrocious. And then Rob Zombie comes out at 57 years old and wipes the floor with all three bands. That's how great he is.
They do a great job.
He was amazing. Now, mind you, again, 97 degrees. I had an LA Dodgers tank top on. I had a very little tiny sweat ring on my neck. It was nice and cool. I kept my sweating to a nice level. I go yesterday to go see Sublime and Incubus.
Oh.
So I guess Incubus had to close that show, right?
Yes, Incubus closes the show. It was only 84 degrees.
Oh, this is Alaska to you.
No. I was soaked, and I only wore a wife beater tank top and my Yankee long shorts. My underwear were soaked. My shorts were soaked. I took the shirt off when I got home and wrung it out. It filled a pint. It filled a pint glass. That's how disgusting it was yesterday, and it was.
It was really muggy.
It was 15 degrees cooler than White Zombie. I didn't sweat at Rob Zombie. I was gross, and I was in the middle of the row, and everybody's around me, and their dumb body heat. It was just 12 songs into Incubus. We went up to the lawn. We just could not stand walking. We could not be around people anymore. And it was so packed. Sublime was just off the charts. And if you can go see them, please go see them. Their new singer is a Jersey boy, and he is off the fucking hook. He's amazing.
Well, this sounds like a great show.
It was an amazing show. Absolutely amazing show. Incubus was very good too. They didn't play a lot of their old stuff. They played a lot of newer stuff, which I don't mind. I like all of it. But otherwise, that was a great show. And the next show is this coming Thursday, indoors, in air conditioning.
Oh my God, that's beautiful for you.
Rage Against the Machine.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah,
I bought these tickets over 2 years ago. It's been postponed 3 times.
That's right.
And I finally get to go see them. It's the first time I've seen them since 1997.
And what about you, Adam? Any concerts in the last couple of weeks?
Well, I'm hoping to go to Run the Jewels Rage on Tuesday. I wanted to do Thursday. I don't think I can make the Thursday show, but the tickets are coming down in price, and
they have come down. They have come down
tremendously at this point. Yeah. And when I'm looking at it, and I see right away rescheduled since August 2020, and I mean, really, this summer we're getting all those great shows we were promised in the summer of 2020, when it really looked like it was going to be the summer of rock.
Yep.
So the best shows I've seen so far this summer. I got to see Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats down in Asbury Park.
I love them.
And they were absolutely tremendous. And, they closed it. They were actually one of the last songs. They had to pay respect to Bruce. They did Atlantic City. I mean, pretty much every New Jersey band that comes through is playing a Bruce song at this point. But yeah, they were, I mean, Stone Pony Summer Stage is perfect. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And, I got to see PNC Alanis Morissette and Garbage.
Oh, Garbage! That's a great show.
Great.
I saw that when it originally happened.
Yeah, and when you buy a ticket, they give you a tampon when you walk through the fucking.
Come Come on, that's a good show, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
it
don't
was-
like that. Adam was very in touch with his 90s inner fucking girl coming out of it. He was singing to Dave Coulier himself, that show.
I don't know. Adam's a big mope rock type of guy also.
Oh, yeah.
So
Adam's
this is
a
right
few
up his
years
alley.
younger than Adam's a few years younger than me. And sometimes when his musical tastes come out, I understand how that 5 years difference makes a fucking world of difference. Let me just tell you.
Adam, you know who I heard on the radio the other day? And I was like, I impressed people because I knew it.
Was it Wet Leg? There we go.
Wet Leg. Do you know Wet Leg, Sean?
No, I don't know what Wet Leg is.
Adam turned me on to this band Wet Leg. And at first I thought it was one of the worst things I've ever heard. But I got to say, it's starting to grow on me a little bit. At least that one single.
Which one? Shay's Lounge?
I hate fucking Shay's Lounge. No, I think the song is actually called Wet Leg.
Oh yeah. No, Wet Dream. Wet Dream is
that was it.
That's a great song.
Yes.
It actually reminds me of who's it?
Shay's Lounge was brutal, beyond brutal.
Yeah, they have a very 90s vibe to them too, and but it's more definitely very alternative, kind of indie.
Don't check it out, Sean.
I'll give you a band to check out that I have been listening to for a little while, and I bought the vinyl on sale. It's called the Black Pumas.
I know, yeah, of course, yeah, they're great.
Okay, yeah, they have a great cover of "Fast Car" by Tracy Chapman, and they do a ridiculous version of Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, they performed on the Grammys, and they absolutely killed it. So besides Alanis and Garbage, which I'm sure was a great show, who else did you guys say?
Well, right after that, I saw Elton John at MetLife.
I didn't.
Oh,
I know.
That's right. You ditched your tickets, stupid.
I sold my tickets because it was 101 degrees that day. I lost $10 on the deal, and I would have lost 1,000 not to sit in that show.
Makes such a big difference to Sean.
No, I will say, all right, like with PNC, if it's hot, it is brutal.
Yeah.
MetLife, it's not as bad in the stadium, but that parking lot is if you tailgate, it's just atrocious there.
It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible.
I hemmed and hawed on Thursday. I was like, look, this temperature is only going up. I said, I'm gonna put them on StubHub. If it's a sign that I'm not meant to go to the show, the tickets will sell. If they don't sell by 5:00 on the day of the show, I will go to the concert. Within 6 minutes, those tickets were sold.
Wow. Really?
I was like, I was not meant to go to the show. I had decent seats. I had in 200 section in MetLife, and it was covered.
Oh, that's beautiful. Why didn't you go?
Because it was 101, Jeff.
Yep.
So how was Elton John? Because I've heard mixed things.
I thought it was incredible, and I wasn't really going in with high expectations. I'm not that big of an Elton John fan, but I went with a big group. We had floor seats, and we didn't even really make it to the seats. We just kind of hung out in the back area because it was just once you got to the seats, it was just way too hot with the crowds there. But just to hear an entire stadium sing Tiny Dancer was an incredible moment. And I'm looking through the set list. He hasn't changed the set list the entire tour he's been on. So I'm looking at the NJ.com set list. I go to hit the bathroom. I go to get a drink. I hear Mona Lisa and Mad Hatters, which wasn't on the set list I had. I had to immediately just go running right back
Great
there
song,
to see
yeah.
that. It's just to hear both those, and especially that both were in Almost Famous. That was just an added bonus. And the only thing I didn't like, he played Cold Hearted in the encore, and it was that the dance version, the Dua Lipa one. Yeah.
How did he sound? Did he sing?
Yeah, I thought he sounded great. And I think and that was the thing, is like I didn't, going into it, I wasn't sure. A lot of these guys on these last tours never really sound that great, but no, he sounded fantastic. And I think, he could just keep going.
Yeah.
Jeff, I know you went to a concert the other night that I want to hear about.
I'm saving this because this is what happened. There's a little story to this. All right. So I got my dates mixed up for my shows. Okay. I thought I was doing spots in the city on the 6th, which I did, but I thought Friday was the 6th. It wasn't. It was the 5th. So I had nothing booked on Friday. So as fate would have it, I have, we've been talking about if you wait, ticket prices come down, and Live Nation sends out emails. And I got an email that Barry Manilow tickets are down to like $19.99.
Wow.
Sean, if you and me or if you're anybody with
That's
common sense,
$19 too much.
how do you not go? I feel like I'd be losing money if I didn't go.
I feel like that show, it's kind of weird. Like it's either going to be like 70 and 80-year-old women or a dude that you're going to see behind a glory hole. Like, I don't think there's any mix in the middle.
Are you sure you didn't go on Friday night?
I'm positive I did not go see Barry Manilow. But again, I respect that you went. And that's kind of the reason why I was going to go to Elton John and why Adam went to see Elton John, is the fact that these people are not going to be around very long.
He's 79 years old. He's the same age as Biden. And he could sing, and Biden's in his low hundreds, but he could still sing. It's a great show. I mean, it's schmaltzy. It's what you would think it would be,
right?
But it's one hit after the other, and the crowd. I mean, it was one of the best crowds I've seen in years.
I watched the video, and he sounded good. He sounded really good. Yeah. What are your upcoming shows that you have?
I did want to go see Rage, but I'm having a hard time with being, having my nights free. I've been getting.
I suggest that you come to a concert with me, Jeffrey.
I would love to go.
Adam's not going to appreciate this show because Adam likes the fruity shit. But it's it's Anthrax with Black Label Society and Hatebreed at the Coney Island Amphitheater.
It's a wild place. It's like a little box. You know what I saw today that I want to see in I'm thinking about actually taking a weekend off, like a Saturday night off. October 1st over at City Winery. Glenn Tilbrook.
Who?
Glenn Tilbrook.
No idea.
He's the lead singer, founder of Squeeze.
Ugh.
You don't like Squeeze?
No, I was supposed to go see Squeeze last year on my birthday, opening up for Hall & Oates. But guess what I did, Jeff? I didn't go because it was 100 degrees out.
I love how much the weather affects Sean's life.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm 6'3" and 350 pounds. I'm not going to fucking enjoy myself if I'm outside dying. I drank. Dude, this is no joke. Yesterday, okay, I weighed myself before I went to the show. Okay, I drank 2 gallons of water. 2 gallons of water. I came home. I lost 4 pounds.
Jesus.
That's how much I sweat when I'm out there. I don't like. It's not enjoyable.
Now,
these shows not enjoyable.
These shows at PNC, are they getting sold out?
Rob Zombie was not sold out in the least bit. Incubus had a lot of people there. You got to remember, to sell out PNC, you got to put 10,000 on the lawn alone because there's only 4,000 seats. So you got to put 10,000 people on the lawn. And there's been a bunch of like Dave Matthews sells it out all the time. That's not even a question. Dave Matthews sells it out. A lot of these like bigger tour, Gaslight, I believe, is close to being sold out for that show because it's like the only Jersey show they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it takes a lot to sell out PNC.
So I saw that this week coming up, you have Rod Stewart and Cheap Trick. And
Goo Goo Dolls are going to be there on my birthday.
But that you can get tickets for really cheap.
You can get anything for $20. And that's the beautiful thing about PNC. We never buy seats. We buy the $20 lawn seats. And then when you go inside or on the morning of the show, you upgrade your tickets for $25.
Oh, that's a great tip.
So that's what we do. We do it all the time. We never buy.
We should have been talking about this earlier in the year so our listeners could actually take advantage of it. That's a great tip.
It's a great tip. But let me tell you something. I am ready. If I can have the president of Ticketmaster in front of me, I would slice his throat in front of his family. They just rolled out a new thing. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. It's called dynamic pricing. Okay. Now I am a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I've been trying to get tickets, right? I got, all my friends tried to get the pre-sale code for verified fan. Nobody got it. I got one. I'm like, this is great. I got picked for the show that I wanted at Newark. Okay. Now you go online and it tells you tickets start from $69 to whatever it was. So you get the choice of tickets on the side, and then you click on it, and then all of a sudden it says, oops, somebody beat you to your tickets already. This happens with a big show all the time. Tickets were $69, and it was like section, I'm just going to guess and say section 200, row 5. That's just a guess, okay? A next pair of tickets come up for section 200, row 5. Sorry, somebody beat you to it. Now, these are $69 tickets. It comes up again, row 6. Now they're $90. You click on it, Somebody beat you to it. Another section comes up very similar. Now it's $125. And the price is going up and up and up in the same section while the demand is going higher and higher and higher and higher. So I managed to get a pair of tickets, and I'm not going to tell you what I spent because it is fucking outrageous. Okay.
I'm surprised. You're not a big Springsteen fan.
I've seen him like 15 times. Yeah, I'm a huge
Same here.
Love him. So I got great seats. I definitely paid less for my first car than I did for these tickets.
Jesus
But
Christ.
at the end, all they had were floor seats, and they were going for $3,000 before fees.
Please tell me you didn't buy those.
No. I'm in the 100 section, but I'm in the first row. So that way, no one's standing in front of me. No one is going to see any. I'm not going to see the back of a person's fucking head. I have and I'm on the side of the stage, so I have a clear shot right to him. But let me tell you, I know people who spent $2,000 a piece for tickets.
I would never do. I don't think I would do that maybe for the Beatles. Maybe.
Yeah, I see that, but let me tell you, man, Ticketmaster, we need to file a class action lawsuit against them.
Yeah,
because they are literally just raping people. When you want to go see Coldplay at MetLife and they're charging you $700 to see Coldplay in the 300 section of MetLife, that's a fucking problem.
It is, and you simply don't go.
You don't go.
Don't buy the tickets.
Exactly. And that's what I said. I was like, you know what? This is going to be a once in a lifetime thing. I'm never spending this much money again on a pair of tickets. It's a great show. I'm going to bootleg the fuck out of this show. Let me just tell you, I am recording this whole show no matter what.
In the next week or two, I'm going to see if I can get someone from Live Nation on.
Oh, do me a favor. Do it. And let me go at him.
Right.
I don't need you also destroying my contact.
Then I will not be on the show then.
He's a nice guy. He always hooks me up with like VIP shit. So don't ruin it for me, Sean. I have so little. We know, Jeff. Little penis, no talent. No.
Anyway, so
what can I do? So let's talk a little bit about 100 episodes.
Yes.
And let's talk about like some past guests. And I broke it down to 3 different categories that we've had. Okay. We've had a ton of comics on.
Right. We don't talk about them.
We've had a bunch of musicians on.
Right. We should talk about those people.
And we had something I called Other. And in Other, I mean, like I thought one of our best shows was when we had Matt Pinfield on.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
I mean, that was also, I think, Adam, if I'm not mistaken, one of our longest shows as well.
I think it was the first longest. We had one recently that was very long too. I don't remember who it was.
Oh, I know exactly who it was.
Who was it?
It was the singer
Max
Illich.
Oh, Max Illich, yes, from 40 Below, my buddy Max. Yes.
But he was fascinating.
Great interview. Let me tell you something. I just thought he was a stoner and a great metal singer, but that dude knew the inside workings of contracts and everything.
If you're listening to the show for the first time, go back and check out this show with Max Illich. If you really want to know what it's like to be a middle band touring, he broke it down like you have $1 million budget and it seems like a lot, and how he broke it down to how it just goes overnight, and you have to make the decision of traveling comfortably or traveling hard but saving it and making a little bit of money. Yeah. I mean, he did an awesome job. That was a great interview.
I love that episode. One of my favorite ones.
But the Matt Pinfield one, if you remember, we had to do it on a Sunday, and we did it Sunday at noon. And I mean, by the time we were done, it was the middle of the afternoon. I mean, we went almost 2 hours with him.
It was just about 2 hours. And the thing about Matt Pinfield is when you look at, famous people who are into music from our generation, there's no one who knows more about music than Matt Pinfield, maybe besides Eddie Trunk. I would say they go back and forth a little bit, but Matt is, he's a breath of fresh air because, like, if you follow him on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, every morning he's just an inspirational dude. And this guy lives, breathes, eats, and shits music. This is all he does is music, And when we got him, he had just gotten clean again.
That's right.
Which was big. And now he's 2 years clean. So
he looked pretty good. And remember, Adam, he told a great story about Bowie. About how Bowie was releasing his that I think was the last album.
Black Star.
Black Star.
Yeah.
and he was talking about how Bowie invited him over the house, and he met him at that was, again, great interview. But there were two other guys. One you were there for, Sean. One you weren't.
Okay.
Do you remember the interview with Ian O'Malley?
That was a great interview when he broke Nirvana.
Yeah,
That's right.
On WNEW. And yeah, and we became Facebook friends after that. And, I just watched some of the stuff that he does, and another just fountain of information. Another guy who just lives and breathes it,
Really, that again, those were like some interviews that really stood out. Then we had kind of like the Eddie Trunk of Canada, and you couldn't make this because we had to get this guy in the afternoon. Matt LaFon, do you remember this, Adam?
Yeah, I'm trying to actually find that one.
I didn't want to lose him, so we wound up doing it alone. And this was something that our former talent booker booked for us. And he was kind of an interesting guy. And I've been keeping in touch with him. And it was like for some type of special segments that we want to do. He said he'll come back on and he'd love to like meet you and talk. So I thought he was a pretty interesting guy. But then we also had there were a couple of very interesting moments for us during this. And I think one of them that came out of the blue, it seemed just like a very innocuous type of interview when we interviewed Jason Bittner.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow we're just talking like the way we normally talk, because we always say the show's a hang. He kind of revealed on the show that what was his band called?
Shadows Fall.
Shadows Fall was going to do a reunion.
And they did.
And it got picked up by one of the publications.
Blabbermouth.
Blabbermouth.
Who's picked us up four times already.
A couple times, right. But that was the first time. And then all of a sudden you started to see the numbers really go up. Yep. And we're like, where the hell is this coming from? And to Blabbermouth's credit, they gave us credit and put the link onto that show.
Yep.
So that was a pretty exciting one.
They got us with them. They got us with Rob Caggiano from Volbeat when he was on.
Mm-hmm. I forgot about that.
Which was a great era for us because, during quarantine, like we loved going into the studio. We had this beautiful studio. It was amazing. It was a multi-million-dollar studio. And then, somebody ate a fucking bat in China and that shut everything down. So then we went to doing this home studio stuff. But the thing about it that was really good was that we got some amazing guests because nobody was doing anything.
How did we get Rob Caggiano?
I knew him. I got him.
I think that was like our first real big guest.
That was our biggest guest. Yeah, Rob is from this area. He still lives in Yonkers or Mount Vernon, New York. He's in one of those two areas. And I've known him for over 20 years because when I had my band, he had a bigger band. It was called Boiler Room. And they were signed to Roadrunner Records and things like that. And, so like we had played the same scene and his name was always there. And then he wound up joining Anthrax, which was huge for them because it really changed their sound when he joined the band. And they start blowing up with John Bush, blah, blah, blah. Then they go back with Joey Belladonna. And then all of a sudden he starts producing the Volbeat record. And they were like, yeah, we're going to throw out our lead guitar player and make you the guitar player. And the minute that he joined that band's sound changed. And now they're headlining arenas.
You saw them, didn't you?
Yeah, I've seen them a million times. But I just saw them with Ghost a few months ago. It was in February.
Adam, you were at that show too, right?
No, I didn't get to make that show. But I think Ghost is I think they're doing another show pretty soon.
I believe so. Yeah, they're a great band. It was a little strange. My mom is a big fan of Volbeat. My mom also loves Five Finger Death Punch. She likes like Godsmack, things like that. So she tells me she wants to go to Volbeat. I'm like, all right, no problem. Let's go see Volbeat. I buy good tickets, blah, blah, blah. So Volbeat's on. She's enjoying herself. I love this. I love this. I get to take my mom to a great concert. She's brought me to so many good shows, whatever. So I am partaking in my gummies. And so I'm like, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling loose. And she's getting a little irritated in her seat. And she's like, well, those gummies take away my pain. And I go, yeah, it'll take away your pain. And I said, I'm not going to give you a whole one. Let me just give you a half so you see what it's like. So now if you've ever seen Ghost, they're a very dramatic band.
Right.
The singer dresses up like the Pope and everything like that. And they're very operatic, but they're fucking great. Okay. 4 songs in, I look over to my mom and I go, hey, how you feeling? And she goes, the devil's funny. And I go, we got to get the fuck out of here now. So we left after 4 songs of Ghost because she really thought she was watching the devil. So I'm like, all right, we got to go.
Can you imagine if you gave her like Quaaludes?
I will tell you a story off the air that has made my act. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. She doesn't watch the show. So anyway, we're sitting at my kitchen table, my dining room table. And she goes, boy, you're just a big druggie, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm not a big druggie at all. She goes, why don't we just list the drugs that you've all done? I'm like, all right. I said, look, I did coke once, I did mushrooms once, and I've done weed since I was a kid, but I went that whole period of 20 years without doing it, blah, blah, blah. So now we're going across the table. So I say, you want to try it? You want to try the pen? It'll loosen you up a little bit. She goes, I don't know. So I said, take a puff. She takes a hit. Doesn't say anything for like 3 minutes. And then she says out of the blue, wow, this is better than Coke. And I went, I'm fucking done. I'm done. There's nothing else I could do. There's another part to the story. I won't say that on here. But yeah, she's a cool chick. We've gone to a bunch of really great shows together, and we're going to a bunch more together, which is cool. It's kind of cool.
That's very cool.
I love the fact that we can go to a rock show, we can go to a country show, we can go to something in between, and it's awesome. I absolutely love it.
We did have a country artist on.
Corey Marks,
that's right.
And we got him very early on. I reached out and got him. I saw something in this guy. I don't know what it was. And he put out the single Outlaws and Outsiders.
That's right.
And wow. it was a big hit. It had Ivan Moody from Five Finger Death Punch. It had Mick Mars from Motley Crue. Right. It had Travis Tritt, the country artist. And I find out all 3 of them were on the same PR label, which is great. It's a great way to do it. His album just went platinum in Canada. And he's won a bunch of the,
they're called Junos,
or best new country artist, I believe. So yeah, we found him right when only the single was out. The album wasn't even out yet, and he was a great hang. I think he was chilling on his porch somewhere in Canada.
He was. We had him, and we had Dustin Chafin.
Yeah,
on the same episode.
Great guy.
So it was like perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another episode that we wound up getting mentioned in Blabbermouth is when we had Johnny Kelly on.
Absolutely.
And at
Johnny's
the time,
we
just knew Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative. And it turns out he winds up, I think, telling us on the show, hey, I'm going to be the new drummer in Quiet Riot.
Yeah, he was in Quiet Riot. He was in
He's in Quiet Riot now.
Yeah, he was in Danzig for a while. He's played in a million bands, and one of the most down-to-earth guys that you can imagine.
Remember talking some hockey with him, remember?
Yeah, emailed him after the show. He was like, thank you so much, man. I got to tell you, I think another great interview that we had, I think it's a top 5 personally, was Frankie Bello from Anthrax.
That was a great, he was, talk about like a big star, a big rock star.
And you asked the real hard-hitting questions. So you grew up in the Bronx. Did you go to a lot of Yankee games? I wanted to reach through the computer and punch your dumb face so bad. I was like, what do you expect? It's like saying to a guy, oh, you grew up across the street from Boston Garden. Did you ever think to go to a Celtics game? What the fuck is wrong with you sometimes?
I don't think I asked. Did I ask that?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yes, Adam jumped right in.
It was early on in the interview. It was like 4 minutes into the interview, and I'm like, "Oh no, oh no, don't do this, don't." And you did. And
I know it because when I was going through, the YouTube app before, and now they have captions in the thumbnails. And when I got over that episode, the first thing, that question was captioned, coming up there. That was the first thing you saw.
Oh, God.
Well, talking about cringy.
Right.
Do you remember
every time you open your mouth? No, continue. Go ahead.
Remember when we had Robert Tepper on?
Yo, let me tell you something. Yeah. Robert Tepper, I like going to LA. Here's the thing. I go to LA maybe every 2 years. Now with COVID, I haven't gone. I'm going to go next year. I have a list of things that I do all the time. Now, when I go, I am emailing Robert Tepper because I am hanging out with him. He is out of his mind.
He was, and we were lucky. We had James Mattern hanging out on that episode
who is
as
out
well.
of his mind.
But somehow it balanced.
Yeah, crazy. It's like two crazies equal a positive.
Right, but it was a good. I mean, Robert Tepper easily out crazy James.
Yeah, he out crazy James. I think we had another. I was talking about this before. I was with some friends who were talking about the podcast, and I said that one of the weirdest moments for me was when we had now passed on the late Bobby Rydell.
Yeah,
that crazy episode.
It was sort of, if you haven't seen the episode, we had Ralph Sutton from the Gas Digital Network, who's a great guy. He's, a top 100 podcast on Apple iTunes, or, Apple Podcasts and everything like that.
Another guy who, just like Mitch, would come back on because we keep in touch as well.
Great dude. Great guy.
For special segments.
So we're interviewing Bobby Rydell. Now, again, my mom, huge musical influence on me. I've heard Bobby Rydell stuff growing up. And basically the interview was like, so Bobby, what are you doing these days? You're living in Philadelphia. Yeah. Now, mind you, the Eagles are in the playoffs, right? The Eagles are in the playoffs.
It was not a playoff game yet. It was December. It was right around Christmas.
Oh, yes.
It was down the stretch. And we start, for people who don't know, we do this podcast on Sundays at 7:00.
Right.
The 4:00 games are winding down, and that's one of the 4:00 games that are winding down.
So we're talking to Bobby, and we're like, so Bobby, tell us, what was it like back in the 50s and 60s at Palisades Park? It was great. That's a fucking fumble. What the fuck is wrong with you? The whole episode, I could not contain myself. I broke down a few times. I could not laugh any harder. This guy was not paying attention at all. He was barely there. He was watching the fucking Eagles game on the corner of his eye on a 32-inch television. You could tell, right? It was a little tiny TV. He's watching it.
He reminded me of Hyman Roth eating a tuna fish sandwich. Godfather reference.
So, I love how me and Adam now are kind of on the same page. And when you let a fucking stinky fart like that go, we're not even acknowledging that it's happening.
There's a couple of other cool. Remember, we had Bruce Kulick on the day of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Bruce. I can't believe we pulled that off. But yeah, he was a great interview. I talked about him today. That was a fun interview. Billy Sheehan was a great interview as well.
That was unbelievable.
I laid a joke on him that went right over his freaking head too. When I told him, hey, listen, if you ever come back to Jersey and play the Starland Ballroom in Sayreville, New Jersey, do you know where that is? Yeah, I kind of do. I said, well, I live 3 minutes from there. I would love for you to come over to my house and I'll give you a bass lesson. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, all right, didn't get the fucking sarcasm in that one, huh?
It could have been in your delivery.
It could have been. No, it was a good delivery. I was just paraphrasing now. Me personally, now I will say this, and this is somebody who is definitely going to be back on the show too. I've actually made a very good friend from one of our guests on this show, Mr. Andre Holmes. Mm-hmm. Who is the keyboard player for Morris Day and the Time.
We had him on with Dean Edwards.
It was a brilliant show. Dean was fucking amazing on that show. And Andre, I will say this. He's no longer with the show, but our old talent booker, Mike, did get us some great guests. He got us some great guests. He got us some stinkers, too, and we'll talk about those, too. But we met Andre, and I became Facebook friends with him. And he was playing a show at Ocean Resort in Atlantic City. And I said, wow, it's only an hour and a half from my house. And he's like, tickets are at the door. I'm like, okay, I'll take a ride down. I saw the show. Now, if you've ever seen Morris Day and the Time, it's not a concert. It's an experience. It's an experience. It's the only way I could describe it.
Well, explain it to everybody.
It's so, he's an over-the-top kind of guy, Morris Day. And he's played this whole connection to Prince thing into a 50-year career, 40-year.
Hold on a second. Is Jerome still with him?
No, the guy who holds the mirror. No, it's a guy named Sylvester now, who's a nice guy. So they go out and they have a great show. Now, this is one of those shows where you go there and, it's 98% black. Let's just put it out there. Okay. But I'm not talking like just regular black people. I'm talking about guys who are wearing the pink suits with the matching hat. and the girls are wearing the big friggin'
like the
stupid hats.
Dolomites.
A lot of Superfly fans in there. So, I'm like, all right, this is cool. Left me tickets. I text him and say, thank you so much for the tickets. I really appreciate it. Right away, within 30 seconds, he's off the stage. 30 seconds. Hey, where are you? I'm downstairs. Come back up where you were. Come back up. Introduce him. Shake hands. Blah blah blah. Come meet everybody. Brings us backstage, introduces us to Morris Day, introduces us to the whole time. And then he says, are you hanging? I'm like, we'll hang. Yeah. He goes, we're going to the Anchor Bar in AC. I'm like, okay, well, who's there? He goes, Mono Neon is playing. So I'm like, I don't know who that is. He goes, well, that's Prince's bass player. And he's playing at this little tiny club in Atlantic City. So we just stroll in. We VIP'd it. They guest listed us all. And it's this tiny rock bar. There's maybe 40, 50 people there. And
Are you and G the only white people?
No. It's a regular place. So
but in this
no.
entourage.
This is like a rock
in the
bar.
entourage of people that went in.
Yes. Yes. Stark white. So we get there and like he's on stage 10 minutes. He goes, I got a special guest for you. And he brings out Vernon Reid from Living Color.
Oh,
but now I'm watching Prince's bass player and
Jesus.
Vernon Reid jamming. They're not even playing songs. They are just jamming for 2 hours. And I was in absolute heaven. And I've stayed in touch with him and like, text here and there. And then a couple weeks ago, he's playing in New Jersey again. So he's playing down in Trenton. So I text him, I go, look, it only says Morris Day. Are you guys coming out too? He goes, we're there and your name's on the guest list. I'm like, all right, let's do this, right? Go down there again, huge outdoor, but 3,000 people. And within 5 minutes of being off the stage, my phone's ringing. Where are you? We're hanging out. And I'm like, I feel like honored. You know what I mean? Like, this is like a cool fucking dude. So we go back to the hotel and we just hung out in the lobby, in the outside courtyard of the hotel with me, him, and Tori Ruffin, who is the guitar player for Morris Day at the time. And we just hung out for 4 hours.
Any relation to David Ruffin?
I don't think so. So just hanging out for 4 hours, just bullshitting about life, about music, about comedy, about everything. So if I got anything out of this podcast, it's my friendship with Andre.
You see what happens when you do this podcast?
Yeah, I have multiple migraines every Saturday at certain points of the podcast too.
But you have these great experiences too. Like I know Adam was excited when we had Donnie Most from Happy Days on.
Who wasn't happy about that?
That was a fun interview. He was an interesting guy.
He was actually very fun. I will say he was a very fun guest. You don't expect people like that to be that way. And that's what I love about some of the people that we've interviewed is that the bigger the name, the cooler they were.
That's true. That's true in life. And that's true off not doing podcasts. It's like, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but I worked on The Irishman.
Yes, I've heard that.
And I got to hang with Pacino and I had to go to a rehearsal with him. Fantastic. Yeah. I've met some also work with some super small timers, much like myself. And, some couldn't be more bigger jerks.
I'll listen. I'll call him out on the pod. I don't give a shit. I think the one interview that I was really looking forward to the most that I thought was going to go well, that I didn't think went well, was PJ Farley from Tricks.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I was hoping that was going to go over well. He's in one of my favorite bands right now called Fozzy with Chris Jericho. Just very standoffish and a little too cool for the room.
Yeah. Yeah, good call.
That was one, and the other one was Eric Martin, the singer from Mr. Big.
See, I love that interview.
Yeah, I thought that went pretty well.
I thought it was good, but you can tell he was a little bit of a snarky douche. And then he had an incident with Mike after the podcast, which I didn't like. He big timed Mike at the place that he was working at, that debonair place. He kind of big timed him and called him like irrelevant or insignificant or something like that. And I emailed him. I still had his email because he emailed me for like 3 weeks after the show. And I was like, yeah, not really cool what you did to my buddy there. He told me the whole story and then gave me the emoji like this.
Yeah.
That was the response in my email. So I kind of lost it for him a little bit. But I really haven't had a lot of experiences where we thought people were mean or anything like that. There was just some that just didn't fit.
Like would you say the chef, Carla?
Very
Cara?
nice. She was very nice.
Cara DeFalco. She was very sweet.
Very nice, very sweet, but did not belong on the show. And the thing about this show is, and I've said this before to my friend today, there's been episodes where we've talked about music for 2 hours straight, like Matt Pinfield. And then there's been episodes where we have not touched on music at all. And then we're at the last 2 minutes and we're texting each other, let's wrap this up. And I go, hey, this is a music podcast. So who do you like? All of the Beatles. Awesome. Hey, listen, check us out on iTunes. Check us out on Apple. That's the way it goes. But we have had some great comics too, I will say.
Yeah, but before we get on to comics, do you guys remember this one? It's kind of down the road of music, but it was a super revealing interview when we had Bobby Brown on with Natalie.
Shit, crazy.
But she was great.
Yeah,
she was great. And I forgot the woman's name who had dated Eric Carr.
Yeah, we forgot what her name was, but she was kind of like pushing her book the whole time. But
she was still
it was really a good interview.
Tell some story. Both those women were excellent guests.
Well, it gives you the other point of view. Like you can interview all these rock stars all you want, and you got to hear their version of it. So it was kind of cool hearing like from the significant other side.
Well, especially to find out, all the trouble that Jani Lane had from Warrant.
Janie,
and how kind of like, I had a lot of respect for Bobby. I thought she was. It was a good
interview. It was a solid interview.
I enjoyed talking to Adam. What were a couple of ones that stood out to you before we get to the comics?
Well, I mean, I always, first off, we already covered Matt Pinfield. That I think was probably my favorite. There was, I'm a big Sopranos fan, so hearing Artie Pasquale doing the behind the scenes stories,
that
or
was a good one.
Robert
Finaro,
yeah. Which actually leads to one of the more disappointing ones was Joey Ganiscoli, who
was a
20 minute. Yeah, 20 minute. And I actually worked with Joey Ganiscoli before. I did I worked on a radio show with him back in it was like 2007, 2008 at the Hawaiian Tropic Zone. So, it was, and just from my experience with him there, I should have, not really expected too much with his interview.
That was also very early on, and that was at the very beginning of the podcast, the pandemic.
Yeah.
We only I don't even think we even had 10 podcasts in. And Sean, I thought, was the one that was able to contact him and got him on the show.
Yeah, I got him on the show, and that turned out to be a real disappointment. He wound up deleting me on Facebook and stuff like that. Just weird. It was a weird interview. Again, it was very early on. He was plugging something too, so it was kind of like
he was doing like a soup kitchen type of thing. Where we remember, Adam, you did some type of special graphic for him, so we could kind of help promote his cause, what he was doing. It was a very noble cause, but he kind of like seemed like he
didn't want to be bothered,
right? If you put in the time, at least show some type of interest.
I agree. I mean, like I do a ton of podcasts all the time, and not every one is going to be your cup of tea. I've had a couple that were just like, oof, these are kind of real stinkers. You know what I mean? But mind you, the Cara DeFalco episode got over 2,000 views. So we really shouldn't. We really should.
There are times that we do go on a roll, and we just kind of hit like the right things.
I'll tell you one that we thought was good too, which also I think got mentioned too, was Tim Ripper Owens from Judas Priest.
That's a weird one
because my phone died halfway through.
Right, we got halfway through.
Maybe 12
I don't know if you were on that episode for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was weird. It was hot. And I couldn't, again, the heat fucks with me. I couldn't keep my air conditioning on because Adam has texted me saying there's too much noise coming on. I'm trying to do it from my car. I was at work. I'm doing it for my lunch break at work. And I had to turn my car off. And it was so hot. It was probably 95, 96 degrees. My phone overheated. You have the iPhone. And then you ever see when it's in the sun too long and a little temperature gauge pops up. And it says
last week.
That's what happened to me right in the middle of the friggin' podcast. I was so pissed. I was having such a great time on that friggin' thing, and nothing.
He was great. Tim Ripper Owens was an excellent excellent guest. He was a gentleman. He was great after. He was fantastic. Another guy I thought was an interesting one before we get to the comics was Mitch Malloy.
Yeah,
that was an interesting interview when he kind of admitted that he was in Van Halen and
he told the whole behind the scenes story with that.
Kind of got shifted out of it a little bit. I thought that was kind of interesting. I just saw one that I actually forgot about. Do you remember those two weird fucking musicians that we had on? They were in one
guy was a drummer, the other.
Yeah, it was like a southern rock band.
Yes,
that was pulling teeth. After 6 minutes of that podcast, I don't know how we pulled an hour out of that. Actually, an hour and 5 minutes we pulled on that podcast. It was Andre LaBelle and Josh Leaf.
That's right. That's right.
Oof. Yeah, they're nice guys, but let me just tell you, yeah.
Or you know who? I was gonna say, who was a not didn't really fit the show is the New York State Assemblyman we had on here.
It's right, Charles Fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a great fucking get, Jeff.
Well, the thing is, you're trying to. It's the height of the pandemic. We're trying to get some type of information. When is anything going to open? We had no idea what was going on at this point, and now we have a guy who has a voice to Cuomo. First of all, it's a good get.
It's not.
Nice guy. He just got
good. It was a good get, but the get wasn't good.
Right. I mean, listen, he just won his primary again.
Yeah.
He's going to wind up getting reelected. Good politician, but guess podcasting really wasn't for him. There was another interesting one. Again, it's like some of these these smaller guys really had great stories. Do you remember when we had Scott Schwartz from Toy Story? Right?
He was
not Toy Story. What was this show called?
Christmas show. Christmas Story.
Yeah, with Adam Glenn. And they great. He's a great guy, but they were both telling these great Hollywood stories. Why didn't you like Scott Schwartz?
Because I've never seen the movie, number one. He's just a weird dude. Like he just came off very, very pompous to me. And I'm not into that. I'm not into that at all. Oh, I did totally. I'm scrolling through everybody. Marsha Warfield was a great guest.
I didn't have her down here on my list. Yeah,
you only had half of the interview because you were doing the spot that night, and then once you hung up, the interview went great.
I'm sure it did.
No, she's a great comic. Like she's a very experienced comic. She's from back in the day, as a black lesbian woman trying to break out in comedy in like the early 70s. I mean, that had to be a hard thing for her to do. It wasn't like today where everybody's a fucking black lesbian comic. You know what I mean?
She was super interesting and had a great backstory.
Yeah, I really had a lot of fun with that one. I really did. That was one of my top 10s, I think.
There was a weird one. Adam, do you remember this one? Sean and I both conducted the interviews from our cars.
Oh yeah, that was,
David Rupert.
Dave Ruprecht from
Supermarket Sweep.
Supermarket Sweep, yeah. Right. He was a strange bird too. He had a lot of hatred. He had a lot of hatred in his heart for the new Supermarket Sweep. I will tell you. Like he was like, if Leslie Jones was in front of him, he would fuck her up. Like that's
he wasn't happy about that. But
he was not. And by the way, it was Carrie Stevens.
Carrie Stevens, right? That's a great episode. People should go back and check that out. But yeah, the one I remember, I was in my car because I was waiting to go to urgent care because I was sick as a dog. I thought I had COVID. I didn't. I think I just had bronchitis. And why were you in your car though?
I was moving. I think it was like in January of last year.
It was exactly in January.
I think I was moving. Yeah, I was moving. Exactly what I was doing. Because I had bought my house and then my mom bought a house the month after. So I was moving her. And I think I was in her driveway doing that interview.
And then like when you bought your house, like a week later, we had a massive snowstorm.
No, Jeffrey, I moved in on Saturday. And then Sunday we had 36 snow. I didn't even have a fucking shovel.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that was not fun. I'm scrolling through every episode here, man. Let me just tell you, we have had a pretty good 100 episodes. I gotta be honest, man. Here's the other one that I did myself, which was interesting. Lucy Power.
That look at how many views just on on that alone.
It was a fun interview because she was very open. And of course you want to ask the questions to a porn star, and she was very open and talking about her kids, which I thought was awesome. Another one that we broke, which I don't know if you remember, another guest that I got was Mariah Formica.
Oh, I have her on my list. That was like one of the first ones where we started to get some type of numbers.
Yeah, and she was very I had caught her on YouTube just doing a cappella stuff and playing, doing
that was a great guest.
Steelheart covers, and then within 6 months she starts this band Plush, and now Plush is a fucking gigantic band. And they just toured with Hailstorm. They've toured with Five Finger Death Punch. Like, this is and I have the commitment for them to come back on the show too with the full band. So they were that was a real surprise guest.
Speaking of full bands, remember we had Sons of Silver on.
Sons of Silver were fantastic. We had Morningside Lane as a full band on the show. We had
Tempt.
Oh, I forgot about Tempt. How can I not leave them on my list? I still stay in touch with those guys. They're great. Yeah.
And they opened up for Iron Maiden.
Yes, they did over in Donington.
Wembley. It was at Wembley, I think.
I know it was in Germany and in England. They did a couple of shows with them.
It was like them, Shinedown, and Iron Maiden opening up. I thought that was a great interview, and they were really cool dudes too, which I thought was awesome. Because a lot of these times these bands come on, they're like, whatever. But no, they were really guys.
Cool. We had so much fun with them.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
These were great episodes, folks. If you're listening to this again for the first time and you missed any of these you should really go back and check out some of these episodes. They're really, really strong episodes. They're entertaining and funny. Speaking of entertaining and funny, a recent one that we just did when we had Gino Bisconti on.
Yeah.
Because Gino does not hold back anything.
No, he does
not. And if you follow what's going on with him now, I mean, he kind of he pulled no punches on that interview.
No, he did not at all. And that's one of the things I love about him. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of mine. I cannot drink for 5 years, but if I'm going to be doing a show with Gino and it's at a hotel and I have a room, let me just tell you, our bar bill was over $500 that night. We made no money that night because we drank until 5 a.m.
And on the other side of the coin, we had Pat Dixon on not once but twice.
Yeah, Pat kind of sucked the dick the last time he was on the show. I have no problem saying that. I'm never going to see him again. But yeah, it was a very strange episode. He was just off his rocker that day. What it was,
but then we had him on an episode you weren't on.
Yeah, it was like a
Charlie Watts tribute
episode. Yeah,
we had Bob Levy, who everyone we had on was a repeat guest. We had Bob Levy,
who was our first guest.
He was our second guest.
Second guest.
Chris Johnson was our first guest.
Correct.
But Bob we did in the studio.
Yep.
We had Ken Krantz on that one because a big Stones fan, and we had Pat Dixon.
Okay.
On that Charlie Watts, and that was a good episode. And a close friend of mine who just recently passed away was a huge follower of the show and a big Rolling Stones fan, and he loved that interview. And it's like one of the last things we spoke about. This guy Joe Nakovic. He just recently passed away. He played in a bunch of bands. He played in some Beatles cover band, but he was a big Stones guy, and he really enjoyed that episode. Another guy, listen, when you come on this show early on in your career or in your career, good things happen. And we got Jimmy Fallon just before he really started to blow up on Fox.
Right.
And now you can't put on the network without seeing him on Gutfeld
he's everywhere. He's like dog shit.
He's on everything.
Yeah, he's like dog shit. He's everywhere. But he was a fun guest too. And mind you were right, Jeff. The Joe Janiscoli episode was episode 9.
Yeah.
We were only 9 episodes. We were babies.
We were new to it, and we remember we had to adjust so much because we were just starting to get used to trying to figure out and find our voice and how this was going to work, and then we had to get out of the studio and do it on Zoom, and we had to figure out Zoom. And I think early on, Sean and I did an episode or two live on Facebook.
Yeah, we came over the house.
Right, just so we couldn't just so we wouldn't miss the momentum.
Yeah.
And then we kind of did Zoom, and then Adam, you kind of this is where you shine, man. Like you kind of like figured it out and edited, and if we do one guest, do we do two guests? What could we do? So the first I'd say first 15, 20 episodes is you can really see us like starting to figure things out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would even I'd say from like 15 on, because Jimmy Fiella was episode 20.
By that time, things are going pretty good.
It was July of 2020.
And we're in the thick of it. And Terry McNeely, who spoke about prominently on the Kevin Downey episode, was the guest on that. One of our buddies.
Yeah, it's one of my probably my top 3 best friends in comedy. I have to put. I know it's really bad to say, Jeff.
What's that?
Got to put you in there too. Hate it. Fucking hate it.
Costanza.
And your top 5 now. Okay. So let's talk about some of the comics we've had. We had I think Bobby Collins was a great episode.
He was great. Yeah, coming from California.
Yeah, Bobby Collins was a real fun episode. When we had Billy Vera on, we also had Mike Morse on the show that day too.
I forgot Mike was with. Great pairing of musician and comedian, because Mike is not only funny, he's smart, he's he gets references, he interjects well. That was a great episode.
Absolutely.
And you always go back and quote something that Billy Vera said on that show.
Oh yeah, how about how the music that you love when you're 13 years old is the music that you stick with for your entire life? And
I think about that all the time when we talk music.
He is spot on, because everything I listen to everything, that, but my favorite music is from like 88 to 90, 91, and that whole era. I was 13 in 1989, so that was a great time for me. And like if I play my 80s playlist, it's all from 89. Just love that era. Absolutely love that era. We also had Harris Stanton, who was a great episode with Ron Blomberg.
Bloomberg,
first
whatever. DH in baseball history.
And it was cool because Harris had a baseball background as well. Harris played minor league baseball too.
He did. He was in the Cubs organization, and his uncle was Leroy Stanton.
You mentioned that before. And early on, we had Don Jameson in.
We did. We had him in studio.
Very early on. We also had Jim Florentine as well.
He was on with a friend of yours.
Cassidy Catanzaro. Yeah.
Right.
Singer from Antigone Rising, who great dear friend of mine. I love her to death. Now she's acting again. She's got her second starring role in a movie she's coming out with now. So people have great success once they come on the show. That's what it comes down.
Speaking of Jameson, we had his partner on a great episode, Florentine, and I wound up getting a little. I don't know if you got any flack from it, but I did get a little bit of flack on a couple of emails from that episode. He told a story where people were kind of a little offended. He told a story about when he was a kid. He went to like a wrestling match.
Oh yeah,
well, that's well known. That's a well known story.
Yeah. But
still about Opie and Anthony all the time.
Yeah.
But there were some people who didn't listen to that, and that's the first time they hear it.
Oh yeah.
And so and we're laughing about this pedophile, and a couple of people who listened to our show who didn't really even know who Jim Florentine was. They were like, hey, that that was kind of like you may want to edit that out. That really wasn't like an appropriate. Like, I'm not editing anything out.
So I'll give you a little background to next week, 2 weeks from now is my 14-year anniversary in comedy. Okay. So I'm doing this a long time. My mom has come to a lot of shows. The time that she saw me do my closing bit about her masturbated 50 Shades of Grey was the last time she came to a show. Doesn't give me a lot of credit. Okay. Doesn't we're not like that. We don't build each other up. One time when I got inducted into the Friars Club, she was downstairs, I was upstairs, and she texted me. She went, "Wow, this is big." So I was like, all right, that's as good of a compliment as I'm getting from her. The second time she complimented me was on episode 35. Now, episode 35, I don't know if you remember, we had comedian Ryan Marr on, and we also had from the Karate Kid 3, Sean Kanan.
Yeah, Sean.
So when we had Sean Kanan on, she was like, we're talking about the podcast, and she goes, well, who do you get on these shows? I mean, like, don't you talk to the same people all the time? I was like, well, last week we had a guy from Karate Kid. He was on General Hospital. Just who? Now I realize she's watched General Hospital for like 60 fucking years at this point, right? I go, Sean Kanan? She goes, you had AJ Quartermain on your podcast? You're kidding. Oh my God. I can't believe you had one of the Quartermains on your podcast. And she actually watched that one. That was the only episode she ever watched, which I thought was a fun episode too. Let's see who else we have on the show.
Before you do that, right? Sometimes comics give, early on in the show, the format, we did speak more music.
Yeah.
And we would ask comics to tell us who their favorite band is, and we would listen to. Sometimes you got good, stuff that we haven't heard that they turn us on to good stuff. And then there was something that was just awful. I'll give you a good one. Remember when we had Jared Freed on
St. Paul and the Broken Bones?
And that was the first time I heard them. And I wound up becoming a fan of that band.
Yeah, they're great.
And didn't they just recently play down in the Jersey Shore at the Stone Pony?
Yeah. Yeah. I think they played
with Fritz and the Tantrums.
Yeah. Right. That was it. That was the show.
You hit me up to go, and I couldn't make it, but
I was going to go. But you know why I didn't go, Jeff?
Why is that?
It was 94 degrees that day.
It's very true. Yeah, it's got to be a certain temperature for Sean to leave the house, otherwise it's going to burst into flames. And then me and you destroyed Chrissy Marr.
Yeah, I think I may have ruined a friendship on that episode.
Oh, what was her?
I didn't.
She's cool though. No, she's cool. I just recently did a show.
I love her with all my heart. I have known her since the very beginning of my comedy career. I'm great friends with her fiance, Frank Pellegrino, who used to run multiple shows in Westchester County. Great guy. We fucking massacred her on that show.
She picked some stupid band, remember?
Oh, it was horrific. I don't even remember the band that we were talking. Hold on, I got to look back here. I can probably find it quick.
And we just ripped that up.
Oh, yeah, we destroyed her. We absolutely destroyed her. But the cool thing about Jared Freed, too, we didn't mention, was Goomba Johnny was on that episode, too.
He was great. Well, he's such a good guy. He's a great comedian. He's just a great guy to talk to. Just talk to anything about. He had a great, interesting background about being on the Jets.
Yeah.
Being a football player. I didn't know that about him, and I had done like a ton of shows with him, and it never came up because we always talked about like stuff that was going on. No, he was awesome. Then there was an episode where you and the guests ganged up on me. Know what I mean?
That always happens.
No, this one I think was staged. This was was Lynette Palladino.
No, fuck off. Let me explain something to you. We did not gang up on you, number one. What we did was me and her we're very good friends. Lynette, I've worked with her dozens of times. She's one of my go-tos when I have to book a show. She's one of my short list of people. We just have a similar love for Stevie Nicks. And the thing is that we're right and you're wrong.
I will die on this hill.
No, you're not. Well, you might die soon because you're old. But when it comes to Stevie Nicks, it has nothing to do with that. She's just a brilliant, brilliant songwriter. And Lynette has a girl crush on her. I still have a crush on Stevie Nicks. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you this. You put Mariah Carey and Stevie Nicks in front of me, and I get to bang one of them. I'm probably going Stevie.
Stevie now?
Yeah, right now. I'll take her over Mariah
out of the sun immediately.
It was one of my favorite concerts I ever went to because, again, I was not used to. I was like 14, and she comes out and she's ripping and she's going and she runs off and puts another costume on. She had like 17 costume changes in one freaking show.
They all kind of look the same, like she was a little witch.
Yeah, she had dirty feet. She definitely has dirty feet. There's no doubt about that. She has dirty feet.
And Stevie Nicks is actually going to be playing in September in Asbury.
Oh, is she?
What?
Okay.
I'm called the See Her Now Festival. Yes.
Yeah, and this festival is made up of so many bands that Jeff hates because you got Stevie Nicks, you got Courtney Barnett, you got Wet Leg's playing there.
Wait, who?
It's a head.
Who talked about Courtney? Was that Kaffer?
No, it was me.
You.
It was me.
Yeah, of course that's you, Adam. Jesus. I don't think me and you could ever go to a concert unless it's
they do have Gary Clark Jr. there in Green Day.
Okay, that's good.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Again, I can't really go to that, Jeff. I think you understand why. It's going to be outside on the beach.
No, it's going to be you can go in December.
Well, I will tell you, they do get some big guests because last year was Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam.
Remember, we had bass player from Smashing Pumpkins on currently.
Katie Cole.
Katie
Cole. Yep.
She was fantastic.
She was very good. She was a good guest too.
Yep.
Give her that. Yeah. So I mean, we've run the gamut of artists. I'll tell you, there was another good episode which I thought was I didn't expect much from it, was Bronx Johnny.
Oh yeah.
Johnny is a great dude. He's a radio guy, and he's been on radio for 20 years. He was an intern for Ron and Fez. I mean, he has his own show on Gas Digital too, High Society Radio. It was a fun show. That was a fun episode for me.
Good dude.
Yeah, very solid dude. I don't remember this one. You might have this one by yourself. Laura Victoria.
That was Mike booked her.
Yeah, she said
very sweet.
Sweet, huh?
We'll leave it at that.
She was sweet.
Yes.
Yeah. Madison Hatter.
We had her on with
Mark Riccadonna.
And I was stuck in an airport.
I remember that. I remember that.
It's been some weird shows, man.
We've had some weird ones, man. We've had some weird ones. I interviewed my cousin Sean Donovan, the
wrestler.
He was great. He was great to talk to. As far as comics go, we've had Mike Keegan.
Keegan, yeah.
Here's one we've missed. This was one of my favorite episodes. The drummer from Slaughter, Blast Elias.
Oh, right. Yeah. I talk about a weird episode. I was in my car.
Yeah.
Remember, I was coming back from, I'm always either like driving my son to school or back from school. Terry was driving. I was in the car. Well, I didn't want to miss the interview. He was a great guest. Really interesting background between playing in Slaughter and then Blue Man Group and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Yeah. What a great interview. Yeah, he was tremendous.
Yeah, I agree with that. He was a great one. This was a weird one. Rob DeLuca.
Rob DeLuca was not a weird one. It was a good episode from Spread Eagle and Sebastian Bach's band. And one of the things that was interesting about that, we really got into the topic of bands performing with tracks.
Okay, I remember that.
And it was a real good episode where we kind of really got really deep into that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and listen, another cool one which I thought was very different. One of our more recent ones was John Reinman.
Yep,
who was the interviewer.
I thought you would like him.
Yeah, that was different because that was something I wanted to like. He was into WWE and stuff like that, so I really wanted to pick his brain a little bit, and that was fun. I enjoyed that, and I gotta tell you, I did not think I was gonna like this episode, but one of our last ones was Mike Westhoff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was a great one.
He was a great episode. And I just looked through all of the 100 episodes and we basically talked about everybody who has been on the show.
Just about. But know what we haven't discussed? What? That a lot of my friends still say this is the best one we've done. They still quote it and it comes up, every year. The first time that we did our Christmas episode.
Oh, yeah.
And Adam, you put like little hats on us on the thumbnail. People talk about that as a great episode. They'll still, like we'll get together.
The Christmas songs, right?
Right. They'll debate on, did we get the list right or wrong? We put, I think 5 that we thought were great and 5 that we hated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a fun episode. I will say that was definitely a fun episode. I think we pretty much touched on almost every episode. I mean, I'm looking through everything. Some people I don't want to give the satisfaction of mentioning their name on the podcast again. That's all it comes down to. I'll skip over those people. Scott Brenn. Anyway, we also had
well, he did one hit wonders with us.
Yes, he did. No, I love Scott. He's a great friend of mine. Tom McCaffrey.
I
didn't know. I was on that one. I didn't know who he was, but he was a fun episode too.
Beastie Boys.
Yes, you're right. We have Mike Keegan.
Yes, you mentioned him.
Long Island Sean Morton.
Long Island Sean Morton is right. We had Chris Monty on.
Chris Monty was on. He was fun. I love working with him. He's a great comic.
That was a Thanksgiving episode, and we had Bob DeBuono.
We also had Van Halen. We have my friends from War for the Crown and the Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast, Archie and Rocco, great dear friends of mine. We talked about Pantera.
I don't think I was
on that episode. No, you weren't on that one. You were away, I think. And that was a great episode. And they have a great podcast. I mean, the guests they get are fucking mind blowing, which I don't know how they do. They get tons of UFC people, but they get some great hard rock and heavy metal guests as well. I think we touched on everything, buddy.
Yeah, listen, hopefully the next 100 will be just as good as this one.
Oh, this is the last 100 I'm doing. I'm telling you right now.
You're done after this?
This next 100's it. That's all. I'm done
all
after.
All right, Adam, you're on air a lot more now. I like the way you contribute.
Right. Well, I do have an episode that we didn't touch upon. I always like the theme episodes, the list episodes, and the worst concerts we've ever seen. That was with Richie Redding and his David Hasselhoff story.
That was fucking brilliant.
Right.
It was a brilliant story. What concerts do you have coming up, Jeffrey?
I have. You're not going to believe this. Can you believe I'm going to see Iron Maiden?
Yeah, if I can.
Yeah, it's my favorite band.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm probably going to be seeing Adam at a couple concerts coming up. I have tickets to 3 Gaslight Anthem shows. Yeah. And I am working on getting Brian Fallon on the show in 2023.
That would be amazing.
I've met his people. I know his people. I've talked to him. He's a very funny guy. They're going to be touring through November, but I think maybe in January we'll get him on the show. I am also going to see Rage Against the Machine next week. I'm going to Anthrax, Black Label Society, and Hatebreed, which I am really greatly looking forward to. I am also going to, I think we're going to go to Willie Nelson and Chris Stapleton.
That's going to be a good one. Is that at the MetLife?
It's in Camden. It's
the
Outlaw Music Festival. I'm going to see Luke Combs and Mohegan Sun. What else? There's a couple more. Oh, Bruce, obviously. And I think that Seven Dust, I'll be seeing a Seven Dust in Non-Point, which is close to here. Black Flag, I'm going to see as well. And I think that's it for the year.
That's pretty good. I'm sure something will pop up.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Definitely something's going to pop up. But listen, you know what? We're living in a great time where music is back. Live music is back. There's multiple venues that are putting out amazing, amazing concerts. And I will just say this in closing. I love picking on you. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. I love doing this podcast. You are truly one of my best friends, Adam.
Oh, thank you, Sean.
No, Adam. No, it's a lot of fun doing this. And, you know, there's some times where I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like you want to relax on a Sunday and you're like, I gotta go downstairs and do this. And then sometimes they're not all winners. We know that. Sometimes we get lightning in a bottle and it's fucking fun, but no matter what, we have a great time and it's a lot of fun. And we built up a little following, which I love. And I appreciate everybody who listens to this show. And I guarantee the next 100 is going to be a lot better.
You know, the show forces me to have to see you once a week. Okay.
Once a week is plenty.
It's enough, especially if I don't have to be in the same room.
Right.
And just see you. Right. So I get to see you. We get to hang out and talk music, which I can do 7 days a week. I love talking music.
I can remember exactly when we had this conversation about this show. It was at that little fucking ice cream place or that bakery that we were doing a show at in Staten Island. Confections, and I had like 103 fever and I didn't want to do a show and I bombed terribly. I don't give a shit. But that was the foundation of starting this show. And then a few months later we talked and it's 2.5 years later.
And we have a show.
Yeah. But I will also say this too, since I am the more vocal and coherent and I don't cut people off and I speak clearly, this show would not be here without the guy in the top corner. Adam, believe me, I have tried doing podcasts on my own. It is not fun. It is not easy to edit, to do all the background work. Believe me, I would much rather have Adam as a co-host, but some people just like the background.
It sounds like an Adam eulogy.
Right. It's not a eulogy at all. No, it's, you know, because again, we bullshit with each other. We'll text, we'll stuff, but you know, we don't ever get to actually say thank you. And I just do want to say thank you from the cockles of my heart.
You're a good man, Adam.
He is a good man.
Well, thank you.
Terrible music test. Hey,
yeah, I know.
No one. His suggestions. We do another show with Dustin, and his suggestions get me so angry sometimes. But
Says the man who posted 7 videos from a Barry Manilow concert.
But it's fucking Barry Manilow. Come on.
7 videos.
I posted two videos. Relax.
Record Mandy. That's what you record. You record Mandy, and that's it. You recorded like 9 things. And the worst part, Adam, there's the worst part. I get a text like 2 days before. You're going to make fun of me for asking this, but do you want to go see Barry Manilow on me? And I go, Jeff, you can never throw me a softball like that. And I said, thank you, but I'm going to pass.
Yeah. I mean,
now I'm kind of pissed I didn't go to the show. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little annoyed I didn't go to the show.
And it was indoors.
Well, look, in the 60s.
Oh, I forgot the best part of the whole thing about this Barry Manilow guy. I almost pulled the Sean Morton.
How's that?
I had to go to guest
card?
I had to go to guest relations.
Right.
And I was, hey, I'm kind of like a big remember Sean's story about that?
You know what? I have video proof. I have video proof of that show.
I couldn't be that douchey doing it, but I did go there and I complained. I was like, look, I was like, the seat we're in, I'm by this huge fucking guy. I go, this guy is tremendous. I go, I'm going to be sitting there. I go, there's got to be empty seats, and the woman was like, she couldn't have been nicer. And she just like gave me an immediate upgrade. So I wound up getting these great seats.
Why you got to complain about sitting next to a big guy at the concert?
Because I would have been uncomfortable the whole time.
Oh, now you're fucking fat phobic? Is that what it is, Jeff?
Yes.
All right. I'm fine. I hate fat people too. That's totally fine. You ever see a fat guy walking down the street eating an ice cream cone and you want to just punch him in the fucking face?
Yes, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Do it at home in the privacy of your house and eat the whole half gallon like the rest of us do.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Like you ever you're on the Jersey Shore, you're on a boardwalk and you'll see some, again, like a woman coming in at about 240, 250, and she has to have 2 scoops. Don't you want to go, 2 scoops? Really? Yeah. 1 isn't enough.
Or like, when you see a fat white broad with blonde hair walk into a 7-Eleven, she buys 4 packs of Cools, and you're like, wow, who is she dating? Anyway.
Yeah, we should have ended this podcast 10 minutes ago.
Right. Guys, this is a lot of fun today. Yep. And, keep hitting subscribe. Keep sharing. Keep liking. We're going to keep going until the wheels fall off this motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Sean. Again, we joke, but I hope we do another 100, 200 episodes of this.
Easily.
All right, guys. Until next week. I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye, everybody.